Good evening and welcome, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for our first county curriculum conversations. And our topic tonight is going to be based on the Georgia Milestones Assessment, which will be kicking off in our schools this Thursday, April 20th. Before we begin, just doing some introductions. My name is Dr. Dave Denny. I am the Director of Elementary Education, and my email address is down there at the bottom if you need to reach out to me. Also, I'm not sure if she's joined us yet or not. Dr. Donna Patterson is the Director of Secondary Education, and her email address is there also. We also have joining us tonight, Miss Erin Miley. She is our Instructional Technology Coordinator for K-12, and then Rebecca Harmon is our Instructional Technology Specialist. If you have any questions tonight that we don't answer during our presentation, please feel free to reach out to us so we can get those questions answered for you. Before we begin, we would just like to do a quick poll on what grade level your child or children are currently in. So if you could, when that poll pops up, go ahead and select your grade levels and hit submit for us.
All right, well, we have a great mixture of people here. Some 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and 1 9th through 12th.
All right, thank you. So tonight there are 2 ways you can ask questions. You can use the chat button at the bottom, or there's also a Q&A button that you can use to ask questions. And again, if we do not get to your question tonight, or you have a question that you don't necessarily want to ask during this meeting, please feel free to reach out to us. So before we start, we're going to address our meeting norms. And as we continue to do these meetings in the future, we're always going to have norms for when we have these. So tonight's meeting, our focus is on the Georgia Milestones Assessment in the Harris County School District. We're all here for the same reason, and that is our students. Please be respectful of attendees and presenters. When you do, or if you do ask any questions, please do not provide any personally identifiable information about students. So for example, don't give student names, don't give lunch numbers, any information that could be used to identify your son or daughter. And then the last one is no political discourse. So we know there may be some politics out there that aren't necessarily agreeable with all citizens in Harris County, but we as educators, we're here to enforce the laws that are out there, and we just don't want to get into the politics. We want to stick to the education side. For our agenda tonight, we are going to talk about the county curriculum conversations. This is something new we're trying to do to reach out to the community. We're going to have a brief overview of the Georgia Milestones Assessments, why it's important, what students should expect, testing dates, and then have a little bit of time for question and answers. So as I said earlier, the county curriculum conversations is something new we're trying to do to keep the community more informed of what's going on in curriculum instruction, and assessment, to give access to quick informational sessions pertaining to those areas. When we say quick, we're looking to talk for about 15 or 20 minutes, basic information to get out to the public, and then question and answers you may have. The other purpose is to foster a culture of collaboration and communication between guardians and the curriculum department, to inform guardians about current essential topics in the curriculum department, and to build a reciprocal relationship with guardians through open communication and feedback to enhance the quality of education for all of our students. So now getting into the meat of the presentation. So the Georgia Milestones is an annual state summative assessment for students in the state of Georgia. So a couple things there. Couple words we just want to talk about. It's annual, so we're going to do this yearly, and in grades 3 to 8, that is at the end of the year, and it's called the end of grade assessment. At the high school level, because we're on the block system, it actually happens 2 times a year, It happens at the end of the first semester, which is around Christmas time, and then it also ends at the end of the second semester, end of the school year, and is called the end of course assessment. A summative assessment essentially means it's a culminating assessment. It is an assessment that covers all the standards that were covered in class and taught in class. The assessments cover 4 areas: English language arts, math, science, and social studies in grades 3 through 12. These are criterion referenced assessments based on the standards that are taught in class. And when we hear that word criterion reference, that measures how well students have learned the knowledge and skills outlined in the state mandated content standards. So the state approves standards to be taught in the classroom. Our teachers teach those standards in the classroom, and then the Georgia Milestones assessment assess how well those standards were learned in the classroom. As we look at the reasons, the purpose behind, or how we use this information, there's 4 main things. Number 1 being student achievement. As you look at the results of the Georgia Milestones assessment, understand that the assessment is a snapshot in time. It's one assessment at the end of the school year that is a measure, one of the measures we use to see how well students have mastered the standards. The student scores indicate that, how well they've mastered them. We've given you a screenshot just looking at what you would expect to see on the score report. And tonight, we're not going to talk a whole lot about the score report, but we're going to do a separate conversation when we actually have those, and you can look at those and have questions about those. But the scale scores you're looking at, they provide a uniform metric for interpreting and comparing scores within the grade level and content area. And then once we get the results back, which will be in late May, those reports will actually be available from the school or accessible through SLDS. And again, once that is available, we will have another county curriculum conversations meeting to discuss that. So we also use the results of the Georgia Milestones to inform instruction. So when we look at individual student results, it helps identify areas where students may need additional support and resources to improve their understanding of subjects. So that information, as soon as we get that back, that information can be used this school year. Some of our results may be back in early May, so we can provide some of that instruction now. But we can also take those individual student results and combine students' results for the following school year to guide our teacher instruction and assessment in their classes for the following year. We can also use the individual and aggregated student results by the current teachers for them planning their school year for next year. So we can look at if there was a certain domain, say in math, where our students didn't perform as well as we thought they would, we can look at what we can do next year in that same class to try to improve on those scores. And then from a curriculum perspective, we look at longitudinal aggregated grade level results to inform our professional development, or the topics that we need to work with the teachers on. And when we say longitudinal, that is where we look at the results over multiple years for grade levels and subject areas. Georgia milestone results are also used to evaluate school performance. So they're intended to provide parents, teachers, and administrators with a clear understanding of how well students are mastering state standards in the core subjects, such as language arts, math, science, and social studies. It helps our schools derive and drive their school improvement goals. It helps them identify areas in which we're excelling, identify areas in which we're a little bit weaker in. It also has an important part where when we're trying to figure out where to locate resources or place resources, we use this information to help assist with that. And then the results can be used as a barometer of the quality of educational opportunity provided at the school level. And then finally, the results are used for accountability at both the school and district level. While we're not going to get into the College and Career Ready Performance Index today, that is a measure for every school in the state of Georgia. It gets a CCRPI score, And specifically, when we're talking about the Georgia Milestones assessment, we get rated for what's called content mastery, and we get scores for those that are used to essentially rate schools throughout the state of Georgia. So just to recap that, the way we look at and the way we use and the importance of the Georgia Milestones assessment system is it's a tool we use to measure student achievement and how well they've mastered standards. It helps us as a district, as school, as teachers to inform instruction not only this year, but for next year. It allows for evaluating school level performance. And then it also allows for the state to provide accountability for the Harris County School District. Putting all those together for our strategic plan, this is helping us. One way to help us, this is not the only way, ensuring an excellent education for every child in Harris County. So what is it students should expect during testing? So the first thing is, I will assume most of you have gone through some sort of testing, whether it be school level testing, testing on the job, any certifications. It's like any other test. You've got a variety of question formats on the milestones. There are multiple choice questions, there are short answer questions, constructive response, essay questions in the form of narrative essays, opinion or argumentative essays, and informational essays. And then ultimately the goal with these questions is designed to assess critical thinking and problem solving skills, as well as content knowledge of our students. What we've done is we've put up a link there, and we're going to send this PowerPoint to everyone who registered for the webinar, so you will have access to this. We do want to show you that there is a place that you can go to practice the Georgia Milestones assessment, and it's called the GeorgiaExperienceOnline.com. We are doing this in the schools with a student, but as a way if you want to support or see the types of test questions that they're going to experience, you can do this yourself at home. Once we get to Georgia Experience Online, I'm going to go ahead and click on Test Practice. And then up here on the left, you're going to see End of Course. That is for your high school students or students in 8th grade who are taking algebra or physical science. And then over here, you'll see End of Grade, and that's for students for grades 3 to 8. And if you click on Online Tools Training, it essentially brings you to the same thing, just different grade level bands. But I'm going to click on End of Grade, Online Tools Training. So when we go in, we're going to click on the EOG Test Practice. And then you could click on any of these. If you know your son or daughter has accommodations, you would click the audio, color contrast, or video sign language, or technology enhanced. We're going to do the standard online tools, and I'm going to click on grades 3 to 5. And then it's going to launch essentially what the students are going to see in their test. And when it does that, it's going to give you a username and password to log in. Georgia 35 is the username and training is the password. And I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And then again, you're seeing the exact same thing students are going to see. It's going to give you a test name. Of course, it's going to say English Language Arts. It'll give us a different test session, and that'll list the student's GTID. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. It's going to say the following test has been scheduled, and it's going to give them another test name there, which they click on. And then it's going to jump us into our instructions. So here, the teacher is reading the instructions as the students are going through the assessment. And they read all these word for word. And when they get to the bottom, they hit next. And we're not going to go through all of these instructions, but rest assured the state provides a training manual and a script where our teachers are following everything that you currently see on the screen. And I'm going to go through, and you can do the same thing, and I'm going to go through and actually get to some of the questions so you can see. But once they get through all the instructions, we hit begin the test. And here is our first question. This one is reading a passage and answering the question. So I'm not going to read and answer. I'm just going to go ahead and click a button to show you the functionality. So I'm going to click B, and I'm going to actually flag this question because I wasn't sure what the answer was. I'm going to click and go on to the next question, which happens to be about that same passage. And I'm going to click C. And this time I now have to write something. And again, I would hit next. So we would go through and look at how they answer those questions. But one of the things they want to do prior to submitting that test is we're going to go and review before we end that test. And one of the things you can work on with your child is to make sure that all the questions have been answered by that checkbox. But also notice that first question that I flagged, if they're unsure or want to come back before the end of the test, they'll see those flags. I can go ahead and click that, and it brings me back to question 1, and I can unflag it. Once the student is done and all of those are answered, they go ahead and click End Test. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to end this test? Return to review or turn in your test, select Submit, and we click Submit. And now that test has been completed. Again, that's a tool we do use in the school with our students practicing prior to the Georgia Milestones assessment. But we did want to make sure that you saw that and did realize that you do have access to that. And if you have any questions, please let us know. For your information, so we have 4 subject areas that are tested. We have English language arts, math, science, and social studies. You'll notice here for English language arts, there are 3 sections. For math, there are 2 sections, science, 2 sections, and social studies for 2 sections. Realize that students will only be tested over 1 content area per day. We would never try to test English language arts and math in the same day. And while this is here for you to look at, I'm going to just give you a summary of the way testing is done in Harris County. So students in 3rd and 4th grade throughout the district will only take 1 section per day of each tested area. So for example, I believe Friday or Thursday, we start with math in 4th grade. So Thursday, they'll take section 1, Friday, they'll take section 2. And we'll confirm that schedule in the next couple slides. Students in grades 5 through 8 will take their 3 sections of English language arts in 2 days. So in day 1, we do section 1, and then in day 2, we do sections 2 and 3. All students that take science, which is going to be 5th grade, 8th grade, and high school biology, will take both sections 1 and 2 in 1 day. And then all students taking social studies will take both sections in 1 day. So that would be 8th grade and US history. And then the other subject, high school American Lit, students will be tested over a 2-day window, and they follow that same pattern where they take section 1 in the first day and section 2 in the next day. So looking at our testing dates, for 3rd grade, we take math on May 8th and May 9th, and we do ELA 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 4th grade, we do math April 20th and 21st. That's this Thursday and Friday. And then ELA is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And then notice for 5th grade, we do add science because they are required to take science. And then 6th grade and 7th grade do not take science or social studies. But in 8th grade, they take all 4, math, ELA, science, and social studies. And then we also have, for the high school, we have our math, ELA, science, and social studies, but that is Algebra 1, American Literature, Biology, and US History. All right, that is the end of the presentation. So now we can answer any questions that have come in.
We just had one question, and you should be able to click on your Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to see the answered questions also. The question was, how can we access what you referenced earlier, SLDS, to view our students' results? And the instructions for accessing that are listed there. Basically, you go to our district homepage and click on the system links to log into your parent portal. Once you're logged into your parent portal, you click the More option in the left menu on your screen, and then SLDS portal will be an option in the quick links menu that shows up on the right side of your screen. Once your SLDS portal pops up, if you have multiple children in the district, you do have to select your child from the drop-down list. And then as scores process, they'll be added into the platform, but you'll be able to see previous year's results in there as well.
And then I'd also add to that, we do have that on our list of things to include in the county curriculum conversations. That'll be one when scores come out. We're going to do a talk on the scores themselves, but then we're also going to do a session on the SLDS portal, getting access to and actually getting in and navigating and seeing what information is contained there from the state.
Our next question is, are students able to use calculators?
Yes and no, not a great answer. It depends on grade level and section. I believe, and don't quote me right off the top here, I believe up until 5th grade, they are not allowed to use a calculator. And then it's either 5th or 6th grade, one of the sections they can't use a calculator. And then another section they can use a calculator. And then from there on out, I believe a calculator is used for the other grade levels. So with that, there is an online calculator. If it is available for them to use, it's available within the program. But then the schools typically also provide a calculator that can be used on the Milestones assessment, as the state does have some requirements as to what can and cannot be used on the assessment. If you want to send us an email about the grade level, we can get you the exact information you would need. If you're looking to what kind of calculator or more specifics about the grade level, send me an email and we'll get you that. We are going to have some upcoming county curriculum conversations. We're going to try to keep them timely in the sense that we're going to do them when we need them. Georgia Milestones is coming up, so it's timely that we do the Georgia Milestones presentation prior to that. Talking about SLDS and milestone scores, that'll be more timely once we have the results. But we do have some other topics of things that we will be covering. But we also want information from you as to what you would like to see us cover. And if you could for us, we do have a quick survey for you to complete on tonight's presentation. You can either use your cell phone and scan that QR code there, which will bring you to the evaluation, or you can use that hyperlink that we have up there, which is www.harris.k12.ga.us/CCC eval. Again, that will allow you to, it's, I believe, an 8-question survey to give us some feedback on how tonight went, if you found it useful, if the timing was too fast, too slow, and any other topics that you think would be pertinent for us to cover going forward. Thank you all for joining tonight. We truly do appreciate your time. Again, feel free to reach out to us if you need any other information, and we'll be glad to help out however we can. Thank you all and have a good night.